And we're live.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Shoot the Shetty.
Yay.
You can tell Tarun is very excited.
Sorry, we took a week off because we had some commitments, but some big things happened. Set it up, Sean. Go for it. Well, what the hell's going on?
I lost my virginity. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. We thought we'd talk about Sean's virginity. Well, last week Sean was like, hey, we should talk about Spider-Man because we both collected comics growing up, Spider-Man comic books, but also a new movie came out. And Sean, do you actually see it, the movie?
I did see it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I didn't think. Okay. I didn't think you saw it.
Why do you think I wanted to talk about Spider-Man?
No, because I didn't see it. That's why. So.
Right. Yeah. So I guess I'll be doing most of the time.
Although I do know the ending because my nephew ruined it for me.
All right, we'll talk about the ending first.
Yeah.
Here we go. Spoilers. What do you think of the ending?
What did I think about it? I thought it was great. The way my nephew just ruined it completely for me, but it's okay.
What did he tell you?
He just said Mysterio dies. I was like, oh, how was the movie? He goes, Mysterio dies. I'm like, great.
Well, I think I'm gonna have to ruin the rest of the movie for you if we're gonna talk about the movie.
Yeah, I don't really care at this point. But well, so anyways, we thought we would talk about Spider-Man because it's been out in theaters, and I think it's come a long way from where it first started. And take us back, Sean. Where did the Spider-Man?
For sure, yeah. I think the first appearance of Spider-Man on television was the Spider-Man cartoon back in the 19 with the memorable and classic theme song, Spider-Man, Spider-Man, doing the things a spider
That was a cartoon.
And yeah.
Was it a live action thing? What was the live action thing?
That was in the 70s. You don't remember the cartoon?
No, I don't. And not the first one. I remember I of course remember the 80s one, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Okay. So all right, let's let's go in chronological order. So in the 60s, Marvel released a series of cartoons. You had Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, and Spider-Man. And of course, Spider-Man was the most popular. And it was the beginning, so everything was kind of rudimentary, crude, the animation and stories, but it was super entertaining if you were a kid and that's the first time you're seeing this. And Spider-Man just was always everybody's favorite because he was a kid just putting on a costume and trying to do the right thing. And then we'll head into the 70s, the weird, wild 70s, where we had the first live-action Spider-Man. And you want to talk about that?
Well, the only thing I saw was that clip you sent me like a couple months ago, and it was like Spider-Man like breaking through. It was like shot in like Japan. I guess it was Japanese made or something, and he's like sliding across the table and stuff.
No, he was fighting the Japanese mafia. Well, that's the thing. So So there's a good history about the show, just written about by Mike Ryan of Uprocks. You can check him out at Mike Ryan, who wrote this article about the Spider-Man TV shows. That they somehow made it a point to make sure that he always ran out of web shooting, web material. He had these cartridges all around his waist. So for some reason, instead of just making it easier and saying he was shooting it out of his body, like the movies, they're just like, no, we definitely have to show that he runs out of these things and he needs them as much as he can. So that's a funny little detail.
It's actually pretty accurate, right? I mean, isn't that? I mean, it's not like he can like self-generate web fluid.
Well, you're right. No, but the first major motion picture Spider-Man movie uh, had Spider-Man shoot it out of his body naturally. So you're right. It was very comic accurate that they gave him these web cartridges.
I think he should always have a fanny pack. That should be like the new Spider-Man. Spider-Man with a fanny pack that carries his
I think
web
he did have a
cartridges.
fanny pack. It was a fanny
Yeah.
pack. It was a
Okay,
fanny pack,
so
basically.
well, let's just skip over the
Yeah.
'80s because again, all the cartoon stuff came about. So what actually triggered?
Well, I mean, we grew up with the Spider-Man cartoon of the '80s. That was classic. Spider-Man and his amazing friends, and Firestorm, Firestar, Iceman. Um, that was super cool because they had all the good villains there. They had Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Doctor Doom. They came up with some weird ones with
And that guy
the
was
guy
cool.
who
Remember
was
that
living in a
episode?
video game or controlled video games.
Wasn't he like in high school or something?
Yeah. So I mean, that was yeah, something like that. Yeah, but actually, I remember some of them have like serious storylines where it's one of the characters would look off into the moon and just stare, just think about what happened. I'm like, man, this is
Pothead villain.
serious shit.
What happened, man?
Yes. No, because sometimes they would lose, or they would just have to deal with the situation. So, and I think they had some introduction by the real Stan Lee, which was pretty cool at
So
that
let me
time.
get this straight. So two guys are living with one girl,
And then
Spider-Man, amazing friends. Is that the living situation?
yeah, I think they live with Aunt
So
May.
three broke college students are all living with Aunt May.
Yeah, which is kind of realistic.
I forget the actual. Okay, so
they were living with Aunt May, but then when they pressed the statue or something, they had all this high-tech gadget come out of the walls.
Right. Okay, so that was the '80s, and then the '90s. Was there anything going on, or was that just?
Yeah, this new Spider-Man cartoon.
What was the Spider-Man cartoon that came out in the '90s?
It was one of the better ones because it really delves into the comic, all the comics, and they had a great cast, and they featured everybody from Kingpin to Daredevil, Black Cat, Venom. They had obscure characters like Morbius,
I got to Google this now.
the vampire. So it was
I don't know why
really.
I remember for some reason all I remember is the Batman cartoon. That was really good. But I got to look this up.
Well, yeah, that was early '90s. This came out, like '94, '95.
Oh yes, I do remember this.
And
this was.
And then it had a really kick-ass theme song. I think it was done by Slash, who did the theme.
So, do you think all these Spider-Man?
Oh no, not Slash. It was Joe Perry.
So, do you think all these Spider-Man cartoons was the catalyst for these movies coming out later, or do you think that just?
No, I think so. Spider-Man was made by Sam Raimi, the director, in 2002. Sorry, and what actually people have been trying to make a Spider-Man movie for as long as it was possible. Jim Cameron was actually set to direct. He had written an infamous like 100-page treatment for a Spider-Man movie, and he was really into it. But I think at the time, still in the '90s, the budget and effects weren't what it could be. And I think the catalyst was really kind of the X-Men movies, where that showed people that you can finally portray superheroes realistically. So X-Men was in 2000, Spider-Man came out in 2002. So, Sam Raimi, kind of an unusual choice. His past work was mostly horror movies and kind of like schlock movies, B-grade movies. He did Darkman, which was a great superhero movie. But again, everything was pretty dark. So, you would think his Spider-Man movie would be weird and dark like Tim Burton's Batman, but it actually turned out to be pretty realistic, and everybody loves the portrayal of Spider-Man and Green Goblin. So it was a huge hit when it came out.
As excited as I was for that movie, I never really enjoyed it. I don't know why, I just didn't like it.
Just for our listeners,
that's not true. I mean, I do enjoy some things, so. But I mean, I don't know why, but like the Spider-Man movies, I actually remember wanting to see it because there was a producer which I really liked named Laura Ziskin who I was writing to, and she was producing the Spider-Man movies. When I saw it though, I don't know why it didn't really trigger anything for me. Like seeing Tobey Maguire, I just didn't take to it. I don't know what your thoughts were on the first couple of movies that came out.
Yeah, so Tobey Maguire, I think everyone agreed at that time he portrayed a pretty good Peter Parker who was wimpy, loserish, an underdog, which is what Spider-Man's supposed to be. And I think he was a good Peter Parker, maybe. Just he was a little too sad, sappy for me.
You know what it might have been,
and even in
Spider-Man, I was married to the '80s like cartoon and stuff, and like even the comic books of like Spider-Man being kind of sarcastic and just having that kind of edge to him. So I felt like Tobey Maguire for me like didn't really capture that. It was something was just off. Like how you said, like he's kind of just kind of pathetic as a person.
Right.
So I don't know. I just really, I kind of like how he was kind of a nerd, in the comic books, but he still had like this bravado to him, and he was kind of this cool character.
Right.
And he, he'd be like funny too, like when he's like killing, like knocking out bad guys and stuff. So that was the appeal for me, and I thought the cartoon did that pretty well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Spider-Man is most known for his quips and retorts to supervillains when he's fighting them, and that's kind of like to get over his nervousness of actually fighting them. And I remember a couple of them in the movie, but that wasn't his overall character. But that led to Spider-Man 2, which was another home run, featured Dr. Octopus, and I thought it was pretty good. I'm still a fan of the first one, but everyone, seems to enjoy what it did for Peter, where it kind of really showed him what the character was when he tried to stop the train. That's become an iconic movie moment from that movie, and everyone loved Alfred Molina portrayal of Doc Ock. So fun fact, when they were making the third one, they thought, Tobey Maguire would be too expensive, so they were actually looking at Jake Gyllenhaal to replace him, who's finally in the new Spider-Man movie as Mysterio. But unfortunately, we got Spider-Man 3, which was kind of a crap movie compared to the rest. It was just too many.
Is that with Venom?
That was Venom, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the problem was, Sam Raimi just wanted to concentrate on Sandman and kind of finish up the storyline of Green Goblin.
I thought Sandman was really cool. I thought that was a cool character.
Well, yeah, Sam Raimi really wanted just a Sandman character in the movie. But the studio execs were like, no, Venom is popular. All the kids love Venom. He's dark and crazy and violent. So you had
they should have combined the Venom of 2018 with the movie.
Right.
We're both losers.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Eddie Brock.
Yeah. You're a loser, Eddie. So are you, Peter.
Yeah.
It's just the whole movie of the symbiote putting people down. He's like the was a put down comic, Don Wrinkles. He's a Don Wrinkles of symbiotes.
Dude, it's funny. As you're talking, like looking up these budgets, these movies made so much money. Like it's ridiculous. Like their budgets were like 200 million, but ended up making like 900 million in the box office. Like these are like crazy numbers. No wonder they just kept pumping these out.
Well,
year after
yeah,
year.
but unfortunately the quality goes down.
Yeah.
So, in Spider-Man 3, you had Venom, you had Sandman, you had the next Green Goblin, Harry Osborn, and they were all trying to wrap up into one ending, and everything just seemed kind of ham-fisted. And on top of that, you had Parker who danced for some reason, and he thought that made him cool. Yeah, it was everything was just off about that movie. So, just as Batman and Robin killed the Batman franchise, this kind of killed the Spider-Man franchise. There was a scheduled Spider-Man 4. Sam Raimi wanted to do the Vulture, but he was just too burnt out, too exhausted to keep going.
Sam Raimi.
So at that time,
you talking about Sam Raimi?
Huh? Yeah, Sam Raimi. Plus Toby, he was getting a little older, and I think he had a lot of back problems. So it was time for the studio to look for somebody new
Spider-Man
to take
has
over
back
these
problems?
movies.
That's hilarious.
So they did. They found
yeah problems.
Then they got Mark Webb, who was known for directing some low budget indie movies and like 500 Days of Summer. They thought he could do a really good job of portraying romance and Peter Parker as a young man. And they hired Andrew Garfield. So he actually kind of hit the qualities you were looking for in Spider-Man, the making jokes, the quips. But you know what? I just wasn't really interested in it. I thought the Sam Raimi movies were enough, and I didn't really want to see the whole thing over again. So I actually didn't even watch the whole Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2 featuring Jamie Foxx as Electro, which just
I actually watched
to begin with.
In the theater, I think. Yeah.
Oh, you want to talk about it?
Dumb. Pretty accurate. Jamie Foxx.
What didn't you like?
Period. First of all, Electro is in black, but not to be
right.
racist, but I just totally just didn't care about the casting of it. Because I think that's what's great about these comic book movies.
Right.
Because you have this image of what they're like, and they actually go cast someone who's like that character. But with Jamie Foxx, they were like, "Oh, we can just attach this guy." Was he coming off like an Oscar? I don't know what the hell. But he's a huge star, so like we can get Jamie Foxx to sell this movie overseas, whatever Hollywood's thinking. And and he was kind.
I think he was a Spider-Man fan, so he wanted to be involved with the movie.
It was that typical thing, like, "You're my friend, Spider-Man." And like, "I hate you, Spider-Man." He was like this kind of like dumb guy who works at some.
Was it? I didn't see the movie. Was it kind of like Jim Carrey's character in Batman Returns? Batman Forever. Remember, he wanted to be Bruce Wayne.
Comparison, yeah. He was just like a guy who had no friends. And he's like, "Spider-Man's my friend," and then like he ends up hating. And we'll be right back with more thoughts after these sponsors. Wow. And we're back. Anyways, so moving on.
So we had just finished talking about the Amazing Spider-Man movies. They did not live up to expectations. The studio knew that. They could see from the returns and from the critics and from the fans. So luckily, by this time, Marvel Studios is just a juggernaut, and the amazing Kevin Feige was able to work his magic and incorporate Spider-Man back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And we are first introduced to Spider-Man in Captain America Civil War, which was a huge shock, I think, to everyone who didn't know about it, the casting and everything. They cast Tom Holland, who's like a young kid. I think he was 18 at the time, 17 or 18. So he was the perfect age for a high school Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And you saw Civil War, right?
That was great.
Yeah. So what'd you think
of great movie?
That introduction?
A to Z. I thought it was cool. Is that the one where Spider-Man gets the suit? Does he get the suit in that movie in Civil War?
Right. Remember, he's fighting Captain America.
I'm getting them all like. There's so many movies. It's hard to like differentiate in my mind like what goes to what movie at this point. But I do like Tom Holland. I think right. He's. I've no complaints about Tom Holland. I think he's pretty dead on.
Yeah. I thought his introduction to Civil War was great. I wasn't sure how good he'd be in Spider-Man: Homecoming, the first introduction of Spider-Man into the MCU, but I was blown away by that movie. They got everything right. They got, high school life right, Peter Parker's character right. He's just a normal kid, not too popular, not too nerdy, just the right amount of everything. I was blown away by even the Vulture. Like, I was in the comic books, Vulture is just this really old guy, probably in his 70s, who's just this rich guy who developed a suit that can make him fly. I didn't know how they were going to pull it off, but by getting Michael Keaton and redesigning the Vulture suit and his whole motives, it was just amazing piece of storytelling and filmmaking. They having Marvel in charge of Spider-Man really just shows you how much they can do and how much right they can do.
Did you see
in showing this character the way it should be?
Spider-Verse, wherever that was, that cartoon movie?
Yes, I saw that too, and that was great because it just kind of showed this totally different side of Spider-Man. In the comic books now, it's become insane. There's like 500 different types of spider people, men, whatever. It's like a whole cult or whatever now. So they show Spider-Man from different universes.
Which is that's from the comic book, right?
I do remember
I do remember being like a pig, like a porky pig Spider-Man or something in the comic books. Am I off? Am I wrong about that?
Spider-Ham, yeah. I mean, that's true.
Right.
That was like they had a whole animal universe, and Spider-Ham, Peter Parker.
I think that movie won like an Oscar or something. I remember that movie doing pretty well, which is crazy. I mean,
I think it won. Yeah. And
now I was just gonna say that I was gonna. This franchise.
Right. No, it really goes to show you when you have people who actually love the character or are invested in what was before, the whole Spider-Man history from the comics and the TV shows, even the cartoons, that's when good filmmaking happens. That's when everything is right. Plus, they changed things just to update a little bit and make it a little bit more cooler. So I'm going to get into some Spider-Man 2 spoilers. Spider-Man Far From Home. So Mysterio is the main villain in this movie. So you won't know that until the last third of the movie, because he's portrayed as a superhero from another universe, and he has to stop these elemental things that are destroying Europe, where Spider-Man is. But it turns out he's just actually this computer specialist who developed a program, or who was working for Tony Stark, and Tony Stark kind of took over his work. So he's seeking revenge on Tony Stark, and he needed to trick Spider-Man into getting these special sunglasses. So yeah, I mean that was Mysterio's whole thing in the comic books. In the comic books, he was this failed stunt coordinator, stuntman, special effects guy who turned to a life of crime. So they kind of used the same thing, but in a different way. So Mysterio, turns out, in the movie, doesn't have superpowers. It's all just special effects. And yeah, whether or not he dies in the end, it could be another special effect. We don't know. But an amazing thing they did at the end of the movie was they had a huge twist where, Spider-Man throughout the whole movie says, I got to keep my identity secret. At the end of this movie, Mysterio actually reveals his identity to the whole world through video. And so,
or did
who knows what's going to happen next in the next movie.
maybe he created a hallucination. I don't know. I hadn't seen the movie. I have no idea.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
I do remember when the Amazing Friends fought Mysterio in
you're right.
the cartoon, in that episode. Yeah, it was kind of like the video game episode, like random shit coming at them the entire time.
Yeah, one of the better sequences in this movie is when Mysterio is actually fighting Spider-Man, and he does the same thing. He uses illusions, holograms to mess with Spider-Man's
the last
mind.
movie?
It's really cool.
Wasn't the Easter egg at the end revealed Scorpion? Wasn't that like the big thing at the end?
Kind of, yeah. One of the bad guys Spider-Man puts away has a scorpion tattoo on his neck. So, possibly they're hinting at the Sinister Six, which involved Mysterio, Doc Ock, Vulture, Sandman, Green Goblin, I think, and Rhino. Right, exactly. Yes. So, yeah, maybe Spider-Man 3, Sinister Six, we'll find out. Hopefully.
Let's start writing letters, people. We can change. We can make a change. If all of us write one letter.
That's right. Change.org.
Will make a big difference. Okay, so where does that leave us?
So, yeah, we've got 50 years of Spider-Man on TV and movies, and I think right now Spider-Man is where it's supposed to be. It's a great high school depiction of Spider-Man fighting his classic villains.
Do you think it's a matter of time
before
the PC cops jump in like, Spider-Man needs to be Latino, and then like, Spider-Man needs to be a girl, and everything gets changed? Do you think it's going to be true to it? Do you think it's going to stay on course?
Well, I think it'll stay on course. I don't know. Like the animated movie kind of dealt with that. They had a female Spider-Man. No, but I think this will be fine. I mean, maybe 10 years from now it might be different. Who knows?
Is it like a long-term contract thing, or is he just going movie to movie? Because right now is Tom Holland on a long-term contract, or is he just going movie to movie?
Oh yeah. Oh, of course. No, they always put him on a contract.
On that contract.
He's already been in. Let's see. He's been in Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame for a little bit, Spider-Man: Homecoming, and Spider-Man: Far From Home. So he's been in 5 movies. He's probably got another 3.
Yeah, and you know what?
3 appearances
I
of
don't think these
Spider-Man,
movies
maybe.
hurt your career. Like before, I'd be like, oh, you were, you know, if I didn't know anything about showbiz, I'd be like, oh, you're gonna get typecast as Batman or as this guy. These guys go on to do other huge movies. You're not just that comic book guy, you know.
Right. Yeah. It used to be the curse of Superman, where people be typecast as Superman. But I think
By the
Henry
way,
Cavill. I think he's doing
not to
some
get too
other
off
work.
topic, but like I was reading about
He was in.
that studio
Yeah.
STX that created like Bad Moms or whatever that movie was. Remember that Bob Simmons guy we were talking about, Lorne Michaels' arch enemy, who created that studio in LA. So basically like their studio, and they create a lot of like indie movies. And this guy like Bob Simmons, who made all the Happy Gilmore and all those Adam Sandler movies in the 90s. So this guy Bob Simmons created this STX Studios. I was reading today that they're having cash flow problems because of these comic book movies are just wiping them out. You know, it's totally changed the game of Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can talk about this next time. Just where where you will see movies. I mean, I think a lot of movies released in theaters. Unfortunately, you could just probably watch them on Netflix instead. Or Amazon or Hulu or whatever streaming platform there is. Yeah, because in the theaters you just want to see a big blockbuster. You don't want to see
Or
two people
you can
talking.
just read a comic book
Unfortunately,
like how we did growing up. Or not.
no.
Well, said it all, Sean. Yeah.
I did.
Anything else you want to add to this? You want to ruin any other movies? Well,
No. Let's see. Titanic. Leonardo DiCaprio dies. The Shining. Jack Nicholson dies.
good.
Oh,
All
Usual
right, well,
Suspects. It was Kevin
we'll be back
Spacey
in
the
another
whole time.
episode with
He was the bad guy.
more spoilers, and Sean's gonna ruin more movies for you. All right, thanks, Sean. See you.
Yes.
Bye.